And so I got involved as a kid in the civil rights movement. In 1969, I got involved deeply in the civil rights movement.
More than once, advisors had gently reminded Mr. Biden of the problem with this formulation. He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement, and more than once, Mr. Biden assured them that he understood and kept telling the story anyway. That is really, really weird.
Today we start with lies and hypocrisy from the Biden universe. That was civil rights icon Joe Biden talking about how he was a part of the civil rights movement. Only one problem, it's completely made up.
And so I got involved as a kid in the civil rights movement because the Philadelphians know this, at least the older ones do. Delaware was the only city in the state in the nation, Wilmington the only city in America, occupied by the military for 9 months after Dr. King was assassinated. Like I said, in 1969, I got involved deeply in the civil rights movement. Those of you Pennsylvanians know that Delaware used to be a slave state and a southern state in its attitudes. I mean, for real. We have the 8th largest black population as a percent of the population of any state in the nation. And one of the things that amazed me was how the community stepped up when you gave it a shot. I was talking downstairs. I've spent more time in the Bethel AME Church in Wilmington, Delaware than I have than most people I know, black or white, have spent in that church. Because that's why I started no, I'm serious. I started a civil rights movement.
More than once, advisors had gently reminded Mr. Biden of the problem with this formulation. He had not actually marched during the civil rights movement, and more than once, Mr. Biden assured them that he understood and kept telling the story anyway. That is really, really weird.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I did not march with a 12-point program. I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes. And we changed attitudes.
He lied to voters, according to the New York Times, quoting aides of Biden's, about having marched in the civil rights movement.
I got involved in the civil rights movement. I got involved in desegregated movie theaters. They organized voter registration drives. From the time I got involved as a high school kid in the civil rights movement. But I was a kid involved in the civil rights movement, desegregating restaurants and movie theaters in my state. From the time I got involved as a kid in the civil rights movement. Sit-ins and desegregating restaurants. And I got involved in the civil rights movement just as a kid. And that's why I got so deeply involved in my community with the civil rights movement. When I sat in black churches on the east side of Wilmington getting ready to, and by the way, next to two Jewish rabbis, getting ready to go out and desegregate movie theaters in Delaware. I come out of the civil rights movement. I start off in the black churches and we'd go from there to desegregate movie theaters. For real, I got involved in the civil rights movement. From the time I've been 18 years old, I've been involved in causes from the civil rights movement. Got involved in the civil rights movement and desegregating restaurants, that kind of thing. Coming out of the civil rights movement and being involved in the Jewish community as a kid in the civil rights movement. I got involved in the civil rights movement and getting ready to go out and desegregate restaurants and movie theaters. That's what got me involved in civil rights as a kid. I got very engaged, in my case, in the civil rights movement.
When I was 17 years old, like many of you, I participated in sit-ins to desegregate the restaurants and movie houses of Wilmington, Delaware. I came out of the civil rights movement. I was one of those guys that sat in and marched and all that stuff. During the 60s, I was, in fact, very concerned about the civil rights movement. I was not an activist. I worked at an all-black swimming pool in the east side of Wilmington, Delaware. I was involved. I was involved in what they were thinking, what they were feeling. I was involved, but I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else.
I also want to acknowledge someone else who means a great deal to our family. Rabbi Michael Beals of the Congregation Beth Shalom in Wilmington, Delaware. That's where I received my education. I probably went to shul more than many of you did. You all think I'm kidding. We have a very, in relative terms, large Puerto Rican population in Delaware. I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community at home. I was, as a young man, I was born in a coal town of Scranton, Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania, in an Irish Catholic neighborhood. Then when Cole died, we moved down to Delaware, to a town called Claymont, Delaware, which was a working class town. And but everyone in town was either Polish or Italian. I grew up feeling self-conscious. My name didn't end in an S-K-I or an O. I got my education for real in the black church. And that's not hyperbole, it's a fact. I got started out of HBCU, Delaware State.
That is really, really weird.
For anyone who's paid attention to Joe Biden's political career, it should come as no surprise that he's lying. But at this point, the amount of times he's repeated the civil rights lie is pretty impressive. Now we go from one lying Biden to another.
And we have a choice. I mean, this is what I'm out there saying. We have a choice. We can have, my husband who is calm and steady and strong and has character and integrity.
For the first time tonight, President Biden is publicly acknowledging his 4-year-old granddaughter, Navy Joan, the child of his son Hunter Biden.
She was asked why the administration's poll numbers are so terrible, and she said it was because people were too dumb to know what's going on.
What message does the president have to give to make people get it that we are in a better place now?
Yeah. Well, we are in a better place now, and what you're saying is true, and we have to get out that message. Every vote counts. This election is important. And so we are going everywhere. We're meeting people where they are. We're meeting them in person. We're meeting them over the TV. We're meeting them in social media. We're not taking anything for granted because Joe has done amazing things for this country.
It was 9% when I came to office. 9%.
Inflation was actually 1.4% when Biden was sworn in.
Grocery prices are on the rise, putting a bigger dent in everyone's wallets.
A new survey finds Americans aren't feeling optimistic about housing costs.
Looking at gas prices, I wish I had better news for you.
Food prices in New York City 18% higher than they were 3 years ago.
A poll this week shows Americans trust Mr. Trump over the president on the economy and inflation by double digits, while 2/3 of Americans say they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Another thing interesting in this polling was more independents said that they worry about President Biden weakening democracy than Trump, 53% to 42%. What do you make of this?
I find it shocking, honestly. I can't, make sense of that number.
Why is the party really falling short with the minority vote?
Lana, good to see you. Look, it's an issue that cuts across all the various groups that cobble together the Biden coalition. He's seen slippage among black voters, among Hispanic voters, among young voters, among those on the left.
Then we go over to Kamala Harris, who said that Joe Biden is a leader with skill, vision, determination, and compassion, which of course is completely different than what she was saying during her campaign when she was running around calling him a racist.
Joe Biden, we have a fighter, a leader with skill, vision, determination, and compassion, a leader who keeps his promises.
What bothered you?
Praising and coddling individuals who made it their life works and built their reputation off of segregation of the races in the United States. That's a problem.
To coddle the reputations of segregationists, of people who, if they had their way, I would literally not be standing here as a member of the United States Senate, is, I think, it's misinformed and it's wrong.
Does he apologize for that?
He's going to have to make that decision. But, let's be very clear that the senators that he is speaking of with such adoration are individuals who made and built their reputation on segregation. The Ku Klux Klan celebrated the election of one of them. So this is a very serious matter. That 1994 crime bill, it did contribute to mass incarceration in our country. It encouraged and was the first time that we had a federal 3 strikes law. It funded the building of more prisons in the states.
Hypocrisy abounds.